Hi guys, this is GSMDome and I'm here with a review of a battery phone, finally. We're dealing here with a handset that has a 6000 mAh battery. It's the Moto G54 5G Power Edition, and it also comes with a 6.5-inch screen and a rare Dimensity 7020 processor from MediaTek. It has 12 gigs of RAM and a 50 megapixel camera at the back with optical image stabilization. It seems to be much more than a battery phone, but you'll see it's actually something else. Now, as far as the design is concerned, it comes with a typical flat frame and it's much lighter and slimmer than the usual battery phones we've seen. 192 grams and quite a big chin at the front side for the screen. I should also probably mention that it's made of plastic for the frame and the back side, and that it has some water repellence. 8.9mm in thickness and a beautiful blue hue with a gradient here, but there's also a special mint green version. The grip is quite fine and even one-hand usage is decent on this smartphone. It has slightly curved edges at the back side to make it fit your palm better. There's also a transparent case in the box, as you saw in the unboxing. Now let's get to the screen, and here we have a 6.5-inch panel of the IPS LCD variety with a Full HD Plus resolution and 120Hz refresh rate. Now the actual viewing experience gets put to the test via this clip here. You can check it out. We are dealing with an LCD, so colors aren't as vivid as they were on the OLED. And the view angles aren't as generous. You can see that the image gets a bit gray from the angles. Contrast not very impressive, and brightness is just decent indoors. This is actually confirmed by our brightness test, which you're going to see right now. Okay, so we go here and you can see we achieved 356 lux units. Let's actually turn the brightness down a little bit here. Okay, so 356 lux units is what we achieved. It's above the Realme 8 5G and also above Huawei P30 Lite and Moto G32, below Realme C35, and below the Poco X3 NFC. So yeah, you can see me comparing it to older models, not new ones, so it definitely could have been higher. Now, aside from that, we go further to the CPU, and as I said before, an unfamiliar face this time, MediaTek Dimensity 7020. It could actually be a relative, a 6nm octa-core relative of the 7050 from the Realme 11 Pro and Realme 11 Pro Plus. The good news is that we are getting plenty of RAM, 12 gigs of RAM and 256 GB of storage, plus micro SD, and believe it or not, much less lag than expected, actually no lag at all, and also no overheating, and it runs games in a pretty okay manner, even though it's not a gaming phone. Its throttling test was passed with flying colors. It only dropped 9% of the performance during those 15 minutes of testing. And benchmarks, honestly, they're not half bad. So if you go here, we're meeting with Antutu 10, where we're just above the Moto G54, tested recently, and the Oppo A98. There's also Geekbench 6 multi-core, once again above the Redmi Note 12 Pro and 12 Pro Plus, which is no small feat, but at the same time below the Galaxy A34 and the Oppo Reno 10. In 3D Mark Slingshot Extreme Unlimited, we're above older phones like the Pixel XL and the Moto Z and the Huawei P10, while in Vulcan we're beating the Honor 10, which was pretty powerful back in the day. So yeah, there you have it. I would say we're doing fine compared to the expectations, which come usually for a battery phone. And the temperature was also quite decent. So if you go here, we achieved 33 degrees Celsius only, so no overheating. Now the battery is obviously the selling point. You can see it written here, 6000 mAh. Now let's see. There's no charger in the box, and the battery supports 33 watt charging. So this is the video playback time we achieved with 18 hours and 21 minutes. I mean, it's good, but not battery phone good. I've seen phones going easily past the 24-hour mark or 22-hour mark in Realme's camp. Speaking of which, we're beating the Galaxy A34, Vivo Y70 and the Realme C55. We're below the Moto G54, Oppo Reno 7 Lite and Redmi Note 12 5G. PC Mark only brings us 12 hours and 22 minutes, far from the typical expectations of a battery phone, and well, I expected higher here. Well, how much higher? Well, first of all, we're surpassing the Oppo Reno 10 and the Redmi Note 12 Pro, as well as the Moto G73. We're below the Moto G84 again, and the Galaxy A54 and the Vivo Y70. The charging is long, it takes 2 hours to juice up the device, 2 hours in full, and after 30 minutes you're at just 27%. So yes, I expected better in this area. Now when it comes to the acoustics, we're treated to an audio jack at the bottom and stereo speakers. One is here and one's at the top side in that slit. Now let's actually listen to some tunes. By the way, we have Dolby Atmos tuning as it's written here. Okay, so not very impressed by the bass, even though it may seem like it. I'm actually more impressed by the treble and the voice. It's a pretty decent set of speakers that makes the phone vibrate quite a bit. The volume is quite fine. There aren't many superlatives here, but it does its job. Actually listen to some Psy tunes, you know, Psy from South Korea, and they sound nice, but they seem to be lacking in bass. And there's some distortion at top volume. Okay, so we did a decibel meter test and let's see how that panned out. So we go here, volume power at the top and the bottom. With an acoustic sample, we achieved 78.4 decibels at the top and 86.8 decibels at the bottom, which means that we're surpassing the Redmi Note 12 Pro and the Vivo X80 Lite. We're below the Realme 10 4G and below the Nokia X30 5G. When it comes to the gaming, we're at a decent 96.4 decibels, even though I expected slightly better. It's above the Galaxy S22 Ultra and S23 Ultra, which is no small feat, and above the Redmi Note 12 Pro. However, below the Oppo A98 and the Redmi Note 12 4G edition. When it comes to the camera, you can clearly see the cutout here for a 16 megapixel selfie shooter that takes 4 megapixel shots by combining 4 pixels in one. At the back side there are two cameras. I've seen this combo before. 50 megapixel main camera with optical image stabilization and 8 megapixel ultra-wide secondary camera, and this one has autofocus for your macro needs. LED flash, and it sticks to Full HD capture only in 30 or 60 frames per second. Now if you go to the camera app, to the Photos app rather, you're going to see the photos we've taken here, and they were taken during a pretty sunny day. First of all, we have some 16:9 aspect photos, which are a bit lacking in detail. Then we swapped to the 4:3 and things got back to normal. These are some bokeh shots of a statue, which is pretty well cut from its background, so when it comes to portrait, things are fine. Now, if you're photographing the nature, you're going to see some yellow hues on this left side of the picture, and the details are clearly lacking, as you can see here. So much so that it's more visible on the ultra-wide camera. It's still 8 megapixel in resolution, so yeah, not many detail. This is a dual capture photo, capturing with both the front and the back camera, and these are some pics that we captured. An intense hue for the grass here, pretty much on par with what we got on the Moto G54. So if you're satisfied by the Moto G84, it keeps the same vibe. The colors really shine in the shade, so in full sunlight there may be some overexposure, but in the shade they're quite fine. Regular shot, ultra wide shot, not much difference between the reds at least. This is actually a beautiful photo. It catches all of the water drops in mid-air, which is something rare, and even the ultra wide one looks fine, even if you had the sun in front of us. There are actually quite a few pleasant surprises here. So the main camera is quite potent, and even the color of the rose here is spot on, even though the focus wasn't spot on. The conditions were pretty difficult as the sprinklers were on, there was a lot of them, it was hard to photograph, dripping roses. Okay, this is a very dark photo of a statue. Usually it's much brighter, so in the shade the phone may take darker shots. This is a bunch of graffiti, and this graffiti is actually pretty well rendered when it comes to the texture of the wall. Now we also have selfies here, which are pretty well done, I would say. The skin is too white compared to the usual selfies, but the eyes have a nice expression, and there's plenty of detail when it comes to the beard and the hair. So yeah, you should probably be happy with those aspects. Now we also have bokeh shots, and I would say that the cutout is pretty fine, except for maybe the ear every now and then, where it can miss. You can see here that the part of the ear has been missed by the bokeh. Okay, now beautiful reds, and once again in the shade is where the camera really shines. You can even fight the likes of the Moto G84 and Moto Edge 40 Neo. And here we have an attempt at creating a macro, several attempts, but in the end it's quite well done, so you have to be patient. There are some imperfections, and attempts like capturing this bug here took quite the effort. Okay, so all in all, I'm pretty happy with what we achieved here, camera-wise. Expectations were surpassed, because we are talking about a battery phone and expectations were rather small. These are daytime shots, and at times they seem superior even to the Moto G84. We also have nighttime shots, low light shots, which are actually decent only when you activate the night mode. So regular shot, everything is dark, night mode quite efficient. Now we may have a few street lights which are overblown or exaggerated, but the ultra wide makes them worse, so steer away from the ultra wide. And if you want selfies, use the screen as a flash and you'll be quite happy with the results, actually above expectations again. Okay, several more shots here, nothing out of the ordinary. Use night mode with good measure, and here you can see that the colors are pretty spot on and the objects are well represented, particularly with the main camera. This is quite a good shot. Everything is kept in focus, details are fine, colors are fine. However, the ultra wide definitely decreases the quantity of details which one sees here and increases the size of the light halos. We really struggled with this logo of a supermarket, not visible in every fashion. We tried it even with the night mode, but yeah. So this is the pharmacy with regular mode, ultra wide mode and the night mode. Honestly, I actually prefer the regular mode, keeps things a bit more mysterious and regular. This is a bit too blown up for me, but still you're getting all the details, contours and highlights. So yeah, when it comes to the night mode, steer away from ultra wide, definitely use night mode, although you may see at times that things can look cartoonish with it. Now let's talk about the videos. Now when it comes to video capture, expectations were kept pretty low, and that's because we're only working with Full HD. However, they were made a bit higher by the fact that we captured some decent videos with the Moto G54 before this handset. So let's check out this first video here. It's just regular panning with a decent amount of details. However, the green is a bit too intense for my liking, and the image is a bit too exposed when it comes to the left side of the, well, capture. Okay, so here we have some sprinklers going crazy and the stabilization being overly active in compensating the movement. It's just the electronic one, not the optical one. Okay, and we go further. Finally, some colors here, and I'm actually impressed by this video because it has plenty of details, excellent color calibration, and for Full HD it actually looks quite nice. It catches the atmosphere fine. We didn't forget about the stabilization test. We actually have two of those, but to be honest, I'm more impressed by this one. The capture without stabilization mode. I know you can feel every step I'm taking, but the one with the stabilization mode, somehow it was, well, flickering and vibrating. So once again, this is without the stabilization mode activated, and this is with it. And it doesn't impress me that much. Even though it gets rid of the step effect, since we're operating in the shade, you're going to be seeing some vibration of the image. And then we move further and we have the focus test, which is this one here. Pass with flying colors, I'd say, alternating between the foreground and the background. And yes, there's also a selfie video for good measure. Not this one, this is a dual capture video, but rather this one here, with the stabilization mode activated. It's not exactly vlogging material, but it's, I would say, decent for a low mid-range phone. To be honest, the microphone impressed me more than the image in this case. So this has been daytime filming. We also have nighttime filming. We're panning here between some shops. There is a lot of exposure here on the fruit. Some of them you cannot even tell which fruit there are. And if you go into the darker areas, things get a bit ghostly. And the lights are overblown. There's some reflections and some noise. So definitely showing its limitations here. Typical for this price segment, which is about $200 up to $300. Okay, and a walking video. We're walking and filming. Flickering and two big lights. The lights are exaggerated. Okay, we're done with the camera, we're done with the video, and now it's time to talk about the connectivity. This phone provides you with 5G, Wi-Fi dual band, Bluetooth 5.3, GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, BDS, and USB-C 2.0 port at the bottom. NFC should also be here, part of the package, unless I'm mistaken. So yeah, here it is, NFC. We also did a bunch of speed tests, and let's see what those are offering us. So speed test is here, and we have the results over here. I'm actually pretty impressed by the 5G. It got up to 686 MB/s in download and only 36 MB/s upload. Wi-Fi 271 over 322, which is actually not bad, but still 5G impressed me more. Not much to say about the software. It's actually Android 13 with a pretty clean look. You can see it here. You should be getting about 2 years of software updates. And aside from that, the experience is familiar. I'm using right now the virtual buttons. You can opt for, you know, swipes. This is the recent area. This is the stock quick settings area. And of course, notifications are also here. Plus the news feed to the leftmost. And of course, a bunch of widgets, which are typical for Android 13. And there are some trademark Moto widgets, by the way, clocks and whatnot. And of course, the Moto app for customization and more needs. So you can use custom themes here, fonts, icon shapes, colors, display layout and sounds, but you can do more. There are gestures, which you can use to control the phone, features and apps. There's Moto Secure with secure folder, phishing detection and pin pad scramble. And finally, display segment, lock screen and native display, as well as your play features. Dolby Atmos tweaks are available here. And gamers will have their own fill of options and settings. Moto Game Time, sidebar, blocking notification, calls and gestures. Other useful apps, well, Moto didn't install Ready for here, we don't have that. We do have Moto Secure, Motorola notifications, and well, that's about it. We should also have family space, so you can create a profile for your little one, set timers and limits to his use of the phone. Now, I would say this is pretty much it, and we have a fingerprint scanner in the power button, which is quite snappy and answers the unlock quite fast. Now, I think it's time for the verdict for the handset, for the pros and the cons. On the pros, it's a good looking phone with a pretty okay performance considering the segment. The battery is just fine and acoustics are okay. The main camera actually impressed me quite a bit. The videos are okay for Full HD, we have fast 5G, quality selfies and a clean OS. On the cons side, there's no charger in the box, the screen isn't very bright, and when I mentioned before that the battery is just okay, it's both a plus and a minus. We wanted more than okay. The ultra-wide camera doesn't quite impress me, and the night mode capture photo and video don't matter unless you use the night mode. There's no Ready for here, and the Full HD videos are, well, just Full HD. I wanted 4K, but at this price you have to make compromises. So at the end of the day, this doesn't feel like your typical battery phone because it doesn't break records. However, it manages to be decent in more areas than expected. That's the change from the previous battery phones. People would have preferred probably more compromises and more battery, but I'm not sure about that. I mean, it's not bad to get 12 hours of continuous usage and 18 hours of video. However, you're also getting a good selfie camera, a clean OS, and quite good performance and reliability. That's what you're getting extra here. It also looks quite good and it's not as beefy as the other battery phones. However, once again, there are at least 5 Realme phones with much better battery than this one. But the software is better here. So yeah, you're going to be choosing this probably on account of the clean software. That's it from us. This has been a presentation of the Moto G54 Power Edition. Goodbye.